Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Ukraine's President Zelensky, whose term expired on May 20th, 2024, has become one of the most successful figures in securing financial support, having received nearly $175 billion in U.S. funding. Despite nearly 7 million Ukrainians fleeing the country and over 500,000 men losing their lives in the conflict, Zelensky remains steadfast in rejecting any negotiations with Russia. Despite the influx of billions of dollars in foreign loans and aid, Ukraine's economy is now technically in default. Creditors are considering restructuring the country's debt to save face, but aside from Western funding, there is unfortunately little else holding the country together. Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who met with Zelensky in Kyiv several days ago, once again suggested holding peace talks. Predictably, Zelensky's office swiftly rejected the proposal. As the war in Ukraine drags on and Zelensky refuses to negotiate with Russia, new, previously unspoken reasons for Ukraine's abandonment of its constitutional neutrality since 1991 have begun to emerge. Reports indicate that Ukraine's rich agricultural land and resources have been sold to transnational corporations and creditors as collateral. This has revealed a tragic and grotesque truth. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men have lost their lives, essentially enabling Western corporations and the military-industrial complex to profiteer. Just look at how well Lockheed Martin's stock has been performing. If it weren't for this, Zelensky would never have listened to Boris Johnson back in the spring of 2022. He was ready to negotiate then, but apparently he received an offer he couldn't refuse, and the rest is history. While Zelensky is busy selling his war project to his Western sponsors, Ukrainian men are equally busy trying to avoid the death that forced mobilization entails. The truth is, the West is now openly discussing that the entire point of the war is not to spread democracy, because democracy doesn't exist in Ukraine, nor is it to enable Ukraine's right to self-determination. Surveys show that only a minority in Ukraine supported joining the EU, and an even smaller minority supported joining NATO. In fact, most Ukrainians didn't even know what NATO was. The real reason Ukraine continues to receive funding from the West is its strategic location, which allows for a proxy war against Russia and its abundant natural resources. The general director of the German Lithium Institute, Ulrich Blum, is very straightforward about this. He states that Europe can obtain most of the minerals it needs for its transition to renewable energy from Ukraine. Thus, from Germany's perspective, the war fought to the last Ukrainian is well worth it.
If Russia gets the Donbas, especially, and controls even more, because in the center of Ukraine there is the Dobra block lithium deposit, which is much richer and much better and much more exploitable. Then, of course, the situation for Europe gets worse, because Europe could get most of the minerals necessary for energy transition from Ukraine, and Ukraine by that could finance the reconstruction of its country, which will cost much more than the World Bank estimates. So if we can drive Putin out of all these areas, it's a big benefit, not only for energy transition in Europe, but also the reconstruction of Ukraine. And that is, of course, what Putin doesn't want.
Yeah.
And let me add one word. Even if he only controls Donbas, all the rest of the region is at risk. And do you want to invest if the region is at risk? No.
Lithium is a critical element for the clean energy transition, essential in the production of batteries, electric vehicles, EVs, and solar panels. Demand for lithium is expected to grow by 400% to 4,000% in the coming years. Crucially, this demand is anticipated to outpace supply, and without increased investments in mining capacity, costs could become prohibitive. Therefore, Europe and the United States, with their stringent industrial regulations affecting mining and extraction industries, are unlikely to invest in their own infrastructure. Instead, they will seek to access other countries' resources. This could be through purchasing on the open market, or, as in the case with Ukraine, through alternative means. You might recall the recent failed coup in Bolivia, which is part of the Lithium Triangle. Various think tanks and analysts are already eyeing Ukraine's lithium reserves. A recent article highlighted that preliminary estimates suggest Ukraine holds about 500,000 tons of lithium, a non-renewable mineral essential for renewable energy. Ukraine's mineral wealth includes lithium, oil, natural gas, coal ores, and other rare earth minerals, primarily located in the east and center of the country. Therefore, the war in Ukraine might become the first conflict over natural resources, particularly lithium. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina has also been quite open about his interest in Ukraine's natural resources and beyond.
They're sitting on $10 to $12 trillion of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. That $10 to $12 trillion of critical mineral assets could be used by Ukraine and the West, not given to Putin and China. This is a very big deal how Ukraine ends. Let's help them win a war we can't afford to lose. Let's find a solution to this war. But they're sitting on a gold mine to give Putin $10 or $12 trillion of critical minerals that he will share with China is ridiculous.
Comment below and let me know your thoughts on this topic. If you found this video interesting, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching.